Hello, hello, and welcome to the Shit I Wish Someone Told Me After Party. This is the weekly live that goes down every Friday to recap the episode that we spoke about this week on Shit I Wish Someone Told Me, to speak to what you had to say this week in the poll responses and questions, answer all of the questions that you have asked us, and to do some live coaching if you're feeling frisky and you wanna. And so about to be hopping on here in just a minute. And yeah, we're going to be having a good time. Hello, ma'am. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I am so wonderful. Thank you. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
So the only thing that I did not share is that this conversation is one that you do not have to keep clean. The episode is like, shit. So keep that in mind, but you do have to keep it kind. So like, just be nice if you were talking to one another in the comments or anything like that. So aside from that, yeah, we talked about healthy relationships and you this week, and the episode was awesome. It was a lot of fun. It's gotten some great feedback.
A lot of fun.
So if you would you recap and just give everyone like a heads up about what we spoke about this week?
Absolutely. So I think we started off with me essentially talking about how relationships are a skill. They're
Mm-hmm.
something that we really have to work at if we want them to be healthy. And we don't necessarily know what healthy was if we didn't learn that at some point in our early life. If we didn't come
Right.
from healthy, we're not going to know what healthy is. So we really have to do the work within ourselves in order to learn and in order to get those tools that will help us get the relationship that we pretty much all of us really long for. But I think so many of us want it, but we're kind of doing the wrong things in order to have it. So
Yeah.
we talked a lot about that.
We talked a lot about that. And actually, we even had to, after our episode, full transparency, behind the scenes, this is why you're here, because you're here on the after party, you get to hear this.
BTS.
Yeah, BTS, exactly. We approached it with the intention of talking about like some green flags for relationships, which we're still going to do an episode on. But after we actually had this conversation, we realized, oh, we really need to like lay the groundwork of what a healthy relationship is and why we haven't maybe found ourselves in them, even though we consciously know that that's what we want. And so we spent a lot of time in this episode talking about, how we got to where we are, and really gave some tangible tools and techniques that people can apply to start to unlearn what we are just kind of subconsciously acting on as, our blueprint essentially for relationships. And that's
Yeah.
often different from what we are mindfully, consciously aware of, like, and wanting. Um, and so, yeah, it was a really good, like, solid, like, oh, if you are someone who is wondering, like, why do I keep finding myself in this, like, position? And as a
Yeah.
relationship coach, you were able to bring in a lot of examples that are really valuable there based on like your experience from working with clients and your own story. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah. And I
Like
think
five
too,
stars.
yeah, no, we touched on this, like, I believe we touched on this whole, like, just doing the work on yourself, whether it's therapy, working with a coach.
Right.
Most people don't start doing that until they're already in crisis. So there's already this big issue. Now they're like, they feel like shit because it keeps happening. They don't know what to do about it. So I really think our conversation almost helped speak to people who either aren't aware of that pattern yet, or maybe
Yeah.
they're becoming aware of it, but they're
Right.
not sure. And we essentially said, like, you don't have to wait until you're already, in the shitter to do
Yeah.
something about it. We're kind of giving you the tools to like assess your current relationships now and see if they're healthy, see if you feel good around these people, see if your nervous system feels safe with these people, and almost do like a little assessment or take stock of the relationships you have today
Yeah.
and start looking at it that way.
Yeah. And I thought that that was also valuable because so many of us just get in the habit because we are creatures of habit. We can talk about neural pathways and all that. We go into some of that in our conversation.
Yeah.
And as creatures of habit, we oftentimes just go through the motions. And so it isn't something where we have the awareness to step back and say, like, maybe I should assess this relationship. It's just something where we know how to deal with it because we've done it for so long. And therefore, we are just in that practice. And so it's not until, like you mentioned, we are in times of crisis when we're like, oh, well, something's got to give, like something has to change, kind of a
Yeah.
thing. And so, one of the intentions of this conversation was really to invite you to do that before, like, do some
Yeah.
preventative care. And so,
And that is something I wish somebody told me
yeah,
because I didn't get help or start my journey of healing until I was like already feeling like complete shit. Like there was something wrong with me for the fact that my
yeah,
relationships were unhealthy, that they were never committed relationships, they were never relationships that felt good to me. I waited until I was in that darker place of like, what the hell is going on? So I absolutely wish somebody told me, like, hey, like, look at your patterns. Like, it's coming from you, so I could have done something about it sooner.
yeah. And one of the things that you shared that I loved was that there was skill, right? Like, I think
Yeah.
that we were sold this like Disney story of like this, person on a horse, like a white horse, like coming in and like saving us. And, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
we, I didn't see any Disney movies where people were sitting down and having conversations about their feelings and their wants and needs and boundaries within relationships like that. I mean,
Right.
I only grew up with 7 channels, so maybe that was why.
No, yeah, I don't know if that exists. I mean,
Yeah. So we sort of have this narrative and this like conditioned understanding that they're just supposed to be this magical thing that works out, and that's not the case. And so I love that that was something that you pointed out, that they are a skill. And some other things that people shared about some shit that they wish someone would have told them, what you viewers and listeners have shared, is um, that it will work if all the building blocks are in place and it is followed by both,
ooh, yeah, for sure.
which I thought was
Absolutely.
a good one because that's essentially like sitting that's essentially the Disney movie I didn't get, right?
Yeah, same. And I think when we have this pattern of choosing emotionally unavailable partners or partners who really can't or won't give us the relationship that we really want for ourselves, I think it often turns into like we end up doing all the heavy lifting and all the
Mm-hmm.
work on our own to try to change it into
Mm-hmm.
something that we want it to be. But that really just doesn't work if the other person's not doing their part as well.
Yeah, yeah. A relationship requires, yeah, two parties, and I love that
Sure.
mention, and I love this share that someone said, like, yeah. And it's also one thing if like you have the blocks, but exactly like you said, if I'm the only one like moving the blocks around, then great. But like
The
there's a
blocks
whole
don't do
ass,
anything.
yeah, there's a whole ass another person like in the room, like just watching me, or maybe they've
Yeah,
left the room. Like it doesn't
right.
work unless like we're both building. Like we can
Sure.
lift a lot more or in a lot heavier blocks together than we can apart. And so
Hmm.
yeah, I thought that was great. Another share was, and I love these all, but the better I knew myself and my values, the easier it was to have healthy relationships.
Sure. Yeah. 100%. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that we spoke about when it came to, how do we create these healthy relationships? And that was actually a question that someone had. So I don't want to spill too many beans, but we're going to talk about that in a second. But I appreciated that this person was able to share that with everyone because, yeah, like, I mean, I can say it, you can say it. People are like, yeah, yeah, you are coached, what you're supposed to say, kind of a thing. But it's like, no, like, this is
Yeah.
actually like what is like true. It requires you to do the work as well. And people say that like, oh, become the person that you want to attract. And I'm like, I don't know that that's necessarily exactly, like I don't need to become like a 5'11", like broad shouldered, like
Yeah.
emotionally available individual. But I realized I went to aesthetics right there. That's telling of me. But yeah,
Well, I
it's
mean,
not.
there is a piece to this that is true, right? Like, we can't expect somebody to come and show up for us and be this secure person who, pours into the relationship and makes us feel happy. That's not a thing. We have to have the ability to give that to ourselves.
Yeah.
So, yes, there is some truth behind you attract what you are, or you have to be the person that you're trying to attract,
Hmm.
because sure, like, you have to be healthy too. You have to be able to, it's not just about attracting the right person. You have to be able to cultivate that
Yeah.
and to help it grow, right? Like you could have the soil, but if you're not taking care of it, your plant could die. Your plant's not necessarily going to grow. So it's not just about attracting the right partner. It's about
Right.
having the capability, the ability to create a healthy dynamic as well. And if you don't
Yeah.
have that, what's the relationship gonna become?
And like to
You're just
nurture
gonna end up
and
pushing
to,
it away, right? Or
yeah.
sabotaging it because
Yeah.
you haven't done the work on yourself yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And something that someone shared today, another relationship coach actually, was, and I like this articulation. So it might not necessarily be that, you need to become like exactly what it is like that you want kind of a thing, but you do need to develop yourself so that you're on the same emotional level, so that you have the same emotional
Sure.
capacity. And
Sure.
so that's like kind of a different reframe of it that
Yeah.
I felt
I think
more
it's
like better
having
for me.
awareness, having
Hmm.
awareness of yourself, right? Because I don't know if you've ever experienced trying to have a relationship with somebody who has no awareness,
Hmm.
or they just like reject everything you tell them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I remember one
About
time
themselves. Yeah.
I was dating someone and I apologized to him and I was like, I don't understand why you're mad, but like I apologize, that this is happening. And he was like, "Ugh, if you don't understand that I'm mad, then what are you apologizing for?" And I was like, for our miscommunication, that like we're in this situation, like for making you feel this kind of way, like I'm telling you,
Yeah.
like, help me understand where you're coming from. I'm communicating that I currently don't. And at the same
Right.
time, I feel some kind of way and apologetic about the fact that we've arrived at this place. Like, what a crazy
Yeah.
response.
Yeah. Or I've been in
So,
situations where I've tried to tell somebody like, "Hey, like you did this and it kind of made me feel bad." And they're like, "No, I didn't."
oh,
I'm like,
yes,
"Okay, well then we're not going to go anywhere with this conversation." So, yeah.
yes.
If
Or
you
I
don't have
dated
the ability
someone,
to self-reflect and take accountability, then where are we
the
going?
accountability piece is so key because that reminded me, I dated another person that I would say, like, hey, you made me feel this way. And they're like, well, I didn't mean to make you feel that way. I did this because. And I'm like, great. I appreciate that wasn't your intention. At the
Yeah.
same time, can you acknowledge why I felt that way? Like,
Yeah.
can you, like you said, be accountable for the behaviors that you did do, regardless of the intention
Sure.
behind them? And can we have a conversation about that and a commitment to doing differently moving forward and like building this instead of just like running into the freaking like running into the blocks instead of building the
Sure.
blocks? And
Yeah.
so,
And
yeah,
that's
that was
something people have
a
to actually
frustrating one.
learn how to do, right? Because if
Yeah.
you didn't grow up in a household where your feelings were validated and you talked about things and you had this like rupture and repair, you're not going to know how to do that. You have to
Yeah.
learn how to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. Something else that someone said is that they are work. And I don't know that that means too much elaboration because we have been talking about that like since we hopped on. Um, but yes, a testament. And then another one. Oh, this one's a good one. So are you ready?
Yeah.
Conflict can damage a relationship and it can also strengthen it.
1,000%.
I
I
love
think so many people think conflict is this bad thing. We shouldn't have any conflict. And I actually know of people who are in relationships and they're like, yeah, we don't ever fight. And to me, I hear that and I'm like,
that. Red flag.
hmm, somebody is not being honest about how they
Right.
feel. Somebody is not setting boundaries. So always like, I always question that because conflict is actually really healthy.
Yeah.
Conflict is actually how you build a stronger connection
Yeah. It's how
because you
you,
have that, again, that rupture. And then that repair is kind of what is the glue and it kind of helps build on that foundation and that connection.
yeah, that relational equity piece, which
Yeah,
is so crucial. So yeah,
absolutely.
I really liked that one.
Okay.
The last shit that someone shared that was someone who told them was that you have to work on the relationship. You can't just exist in the relationship and expect it to be successful.
Yes, I agree with that for sure. I will say this though, that healthy relationships don't always need to be worked on.
Right.
And I think I want to make that distinction because I think that healthy relationships are safe enough to the point where we could just like enjoy each other, have fun, play. Um, it's not always this like the relationship has to be worked on every
Right.
moment. But sure, absolutely, relationships are work. They are hard, and they do require us to work on them.
Yeah. I like that
Yeah.
one because yeah, I thought that that was like we again like have this notion that like oh it's just all like fine and dandy, but they do require you to work on it. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, you can't. It's not something where we can just kind of like oh this thing happened and sweep it under the rug and expect that to like equal success. Oh,
Definitely not.
and Joe said true. It's not always a negative thing. Talking about conflict, I'm assuming. So yeah, love that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um, we asked this week in the polls, because this whole conversation is about healthy relationships in you. And so we wanted to know, are your relationships healthy? And we gave you three options. So, yes, definitely, some of them, and then nope. So, 56% said some of them, 38% said yes, definitely, and then 6% said nope. Does this surprise you based on like your experience as a relationship coach and like just of relationships in general, or what do you think about those responses or those numbers?
Um, I mean, that's actually a good thing, right? Like more
Over
people
half,
said that they're
over,
really,
yep, over half,
I mean, yeah,
56%.
that's love to see it. Um, that's 6%. If you need any help, I'm here. Yeah. But I think, I mean, that's like that awareness piece, right? I mean, like we said before, taking stock of our current relationships now,
Mhm.
and building that awareness and that mindfulness and being intentional about our relationships is so important. So I kind of like to see that there are a lot of people who do have healthy relationships because that means they are keeping people around them who are good for the nervous system.
Yeah. And I like this
Yeah, I love
question. I
it.
thought it was like a good, since we were talking about the topic, and also because I know that we follow a lot of, relationship pages and like we get a lot of, responses in that way. And while we may have moments where we're like, oh, that relates or that resonates or whatever verbiage you may use, it's not something where we consciously, really pause to think, are my relationships healthy? And so I thought that was a great pulse check. And I was happy to see that and not surprised to see that it was the majority of people said some and not all. And I thought it was cool, but 38% said yes, definitely. And I'm wondering like what that looks like. Do they have healthy conflict within those healthy relationships, or is it
Sure.
something where, yeah, like curious to see like what that is.
Also, what does healthy mean to you?
Exactly,
Because it means something different to everybody.
which was the next question. To complete the following statement, in a healthy relationship, I feel, and some responses were like I can be myself. Someone said, I feel comfort. I feel understood and at peace. I feel seen, heard, validated, and at peace, like myself, safe, supported, and at home. I
I
see
love
I
all of
see
this.
a theme there, like the
Me
comfort and
too.
like the home, like is what stands out to me. What about you?
Yeah.
I like the peace, like
I love I love when people tap into like how a relationship makes them feel
mm-hmm,
versus like being in the logical, if that makes sense. Like I
mm-hmm,
think so many of us don't pay attention to how our body feels around people. So I I love when people are able to say like feels like home. It feels like and it almost reminds them of just this like good feeling. I love
yeah,
that. Love to hear it.
yeah, yeah. I thought those were all like those made me feel cozy. So yeah, I love
Yeah.
those. We also asked, so kind of on the flip side, what challenges do you struggle with when it comes to healthy relationships? And so the options we gave for trust, communication, safety, and respect. And I was not, but I was surprised. So before I share, I was not surprised at the winning two. I was surprised that nobody said anything about like the 0% of people responded to the other two. So number one, winner by a landslide, 68% of people said trust. So trust is the biggest struggle in when it comes to healthy relationships. 38% said communication. makes sense. But
Yes.
yeah, no one said respect and no one said safety, which I mean, good. Like, I'm glad that people are in relationships where they feel safe and respected.
Sure.
But also at the same time, I was like surprised literally no one
Yeah.
said that. But I was, yeah, like I said, again, not to be redundant, but not surprised at trust and communication being the top two struggles.
No, me neither.
Is that
I think
something that you see a lot with your clients?
yes, especially when we have insecure attachment, that communication. Both of those things are something that I have to work with my clients on, right? Like building that, not only that trust in other people, but that self-trust
Mm-hmm.
and feeling safe communicating your needs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like mentioning, yeah, the safety part of it. And so, yeah.
I think like safety and the nervous system, to be honest, is a relatively like new conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I do like hear a lot more people talking about it now, and it is becoming more of a thing in this world of relationships and just life in general, the nervous system. And so I wonder if perhaps that's, um, yeah, I wonder if that's maybe a part of it. Um,
Yeah. It's like a
maybe
newer
people
concept.
don't, maybe people don't necessarily know what like safety, what comes with
Mm,
safety,
right. Like they might be thinking
and
like
like
physical
trust and
safety.
communication stand
Yeah.
out to them a little more.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Because yeah, we've heard about that a lot.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah. So okay, cool, good stuff. So let's dive into some questions, shall we? Like we had two
Sure.
questions this week, and so the first one I posted in my stories because it made me laugh literally out loud. The first one was so what the question was phrased. What questions do you have about healthy relationships? And someone asked, "Where can I find one?" Lol. So
The thing, what I would say to that is you may not be able to find one right away, but you can create one.
tell us more.
Well, I think connection needs to be built, safety needs to be built. We need to create that, like we said before, with this like Disney movie concept where someone just comes in and saves you. It doesn't work that way. So you actually have to create a healthy dynamic, right? And we do that through a lot of the time we do that through boundaries, healthy communication, trust. Um, Safe. We don't just walk. You don't just date somebody new and automatically feel safe with them, right?
Right.
You have to work up to that. They have to show you that they're safe. You have to show them that you're safe. So healthy relationships are actually cultivated through two safe people who are able to regulate their nervous systems and do the healing work on themselves. You create that.
Yeah.
So that's
I
my
like
answer
that.
to that. We
I
create it.
like
We
that
don't find
answer.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, where can I find? Yeah, and so that reminds me of something. We are so often, I mean, this is what we do. Like we seek for the answers like outside of ourselves. And this is going to get like a little like philosophical here, but bear with me. We're conditioned to like order it from, to Amazon 2-day delivery. We're conditioned to like get these quick fixes. Marketers have used, psychology to sell to us like for the past since as long as we've been alive, like they figured out that formula. And so
Yeah.
it's something where exactly like what you said, it's something about like people tend to get into this mindset of like, well, where do I find one? Like, where do I go? Like, how do I put myself in the position to like, make that happen? And I like what you said about, it's a matter of like creating one. And so we shared more tips in the episode. So plug, go listen to that. But aside from that, yeah, it's something about, I think, leaning into where you do have healthy relationships, if those do exist, and considering where you can borrow, like what about them is healthy to you, and considering where you can, oh, if you hear coughing, that is my little furry child. Um, if you do have healthy relationships, where you can borrow from that relationship and put it into like other spaces that you want to be healthy. Like, let's say if you have a healthy relationship with your friends, how can you borrow some of those characteristics
Yeah.
into your romantic relationships? If it's something where you don't have a healthy relationship, then like you said, creating one in the sense of, and like I said, I'm going to get a little wooey here, but thinking about like what it is that you want, like spending time alone with yourself without the distraction of social media telling you that you need, you know someone who checks off these boxes. Like, think about what's important to you and what values you want. And from there, considering like we spoke, not necessarily, hey, I need to, be these things I wrote down, but, are you on the same emotional level and capacity where you would be a good fit for someone to be on your team, like where you're on the
Sure.
same level essentially. So
Sure.
that's my response
And
to
I
that.
think just like what you said before about, we're in this, day and age where everything is just almost like at the tip of our fingertips. Dating apps, right?
God,
We're just swiping through a
swiping,
catalog of people, right?
swiping.
And
Yeah,
I think we almost have this expectation of like this is the one that I'm going to go on a date with, and if they're not right away like what I want them to be, then I'm on to the next one.
yeah,
And I think that is the mentality these days, right? Because if it doesn't work out with that person, if they don't show up exactly the way that you want them to, I can move on to someone else.
yeah. There's more swipes on the app. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. And we've heard about that. I feel that's not the first mention that people listening and watching will have heard of us talking about how social media is like impacting um, just like our
relationship.
relationships, like
Oh
whether that
yeah,
be romantic, platonic, whatever.
sure.
Um, because yeah, like we
It
do
is.
get so distracted, and like there is such an ease of access, if you will.
Sure.
So it's like why do I need to build? And I think that it's also used as a crutch because it's oftentimes something that can be looked at as, okay, why do I need to build these skills and learn how to set boundaries and figure out like my own like patterns and shit when I can just dump this person and find another one and like do the thing all
Right.
over again. And
Yeah.
so in that sense, like we aren't getting better and more emotionally mature. We're just, leaving a trail of like collateral damage like by
Yeah.
repeating the
Sure.
same bullshit. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And I validate people who say that dating today is hard. As much as I also encourage people to not have limiting beliefs, right? I do validate the fact that dating today is hard because there is this like throwaway culture or this like
Mm,
the grass is greener somewhere else. And that's a
mhm.
very real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. The throwaway culture is real.
it
Um,
is.
okay. So if you're looking for a healthy relationship, that's some insight on where to find one, rather how to create one and figure out what it is that you actually want. And the other question that we had this week is kind of a long one, not really a long one, but I'm going to read it out. Um, I wronged a friend 2 years ago. I've apologized several times and changed, and they still punish me. When will it stop? Because I've grown past that, and I've never repeated the act since, but they always bring up this hurtful old event. So to me, it seems, I can't tell if this is romantic or platonic, but it seems that, yeah, like they acknowledge they fucked up. It was years ago, too specifically, and they've apologized and changed, but yet there's still some either passive aggressive or full on aggressive, like ways that they feel they're being
Mm,
punished for their transgressions. And they continue to bring it up and be subjected to that. So, what
yeah.
would you have to say to that?
So I actually would say that regardless of whether it's a friendship or romantic relationship, I feel like the process is still the same. Like a lot of what I talk about is geared towards romantic relationships, but we can
Mm-hmm.
actually apply the principles to any relationship. So
Right.
it sounds like what's happening, whatever, however you hurt this friend, they're still continuously seeking that justice, right? Like I'm still hurt, I'm not over it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like in romantic relationships when they say like if a woman continues to bring something up, it's because she's not over it. She's
Yeah.
still hurt by it. And as a man or whatever, you listen to that, right? She may not be saying it directly, but it still hurts her because she's still bringing it up. And I think it's the same thing here. If this is a friendship, I think they said it's a friendship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, there is some there is still some part of your friend who obviously still feels hurt. Um, so what I would say to that is, how can you try and communicate clearly with this friend, right? Whether that's, listen, we've addressed it and I have apologized. Is there something about this that's still unresolved for you?
Mm-hmm.
You get some clarity on or help you to feel better about, because I'd really love to move forward with you because I value our friendship. Something like that. I always encourage to be direct and honest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's also important on the other side of this too, right? Like, you don't want to constantly feel like you're being brought to justice for something that happened so long ago and something that you are trying to move past. And sometimes we just end up being almost like victims of someone's perception of us, right? Like, sometimes people hold on to this old version of us and they don't let us escape it. So that could be what's happening here too. I don't have too much context on their situation specifically, but if that's the case too, then it's up to you to decide, you know, how can I set some boundaries with this, and ultimately, is this constant like bringing me to justice going to work for me?
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, it seems exactly like what you said. Like, obviously, this other person isn't over it. And
Yeah.
it's something where whatever way this person apologized and changed isn't equal to the hurt that this other person felt.
Mm-hmm.
And so it seems that what I would suggest here is similar. Yeah, asking them, like, what can I do? Like,
Right.
what, like,
Yeah.
and can you get over this?
Right. Yeah. Can we,
Because,
can we even move forward from this? Because
yeah,
some conflict has no resolution. And I think people forget that sometimes. Sometimes there are things that like we can't get over or someone else can't get over. And that could be true too.
yeah, it might be something where exactly it's that person just, yeah, that's like a non-negotiable for them, or like whatever the case may
Sure.
be. And so, yeah, at that point, it's like, well, how much longer do you want to stay around and make amends, like repent for the sins that you have already repented for, kind of a thing.
Right.
And
Exactly.
so, doesn't
Yeah.
sound like an easy situation, and like we're
Definitely.
we're giving somewhat generalized advice just because like we don't know the specifics, but
Yeah, there's not a lot of
um
context there, and I think I would need to know a little more in order to
yeah,
like really help them. But yeah,
but yeah, I feel we gave like some solid insight in terms of, yeah, like this is a conversation clearly needs to be had. And
sure.
so, yeah, taking a look at,
Communication will always give you that like that step forward, right?
yeah,
Like, you can't really know what's going on
yeah,
if unless you communicate about it. But clearly,
yeah,
there's something going on.
yeah. The
Yeah.
relationship you want is likely on the other side of that difficult conversation.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
or the relationship that you might not be able to get, but like you're not going to know that unless you have that conversation. So,
Sure.
wishing you the best of luck
Yeah.
in that. And yeah, if you want to continue the conversation, if there's something we can do to support, you know, slide in, let us know. I'm happy to provide a bit more like custom insight if that's helpful.
Absolutely.
So, okay, cool. We've talked about the episode via a recap. We've shared what everyone had to say in the results this week. And we've also answered some questions. And now let's do a little rapid fire Q&A.
Sounds good.
Rapid-ish fire. It doesn't really have to be like super rapid fire. So, okay, I've got some questions here, and there's only 6 of them, but they're fun. So I think they're fun. So, first question, let's get to know Rachael. What is a life hack that you wish you knew sooner?
Life hack that I wish I knew sooner. Um, that you literally don't have to be around people that you don't want to be around.
Oh, well, that is a good one.
Literally,
we
like, you don't have to talk to anybody you don't want to talk to.
That is a good one. Any tips on how to like avoid those people that are just like, hey, when you don't like how to get out of the conversation?
Oof. I mean, as a reformed people pleaser and someone who used to not know what the hell a boundary was,
Mm-hmm.
it definitely takes some work to get to that place. But once you do it, like once you start to do it, like in little ways, tell people no, tell people I don't want to do that. It gets so much easier.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fun. Yeah, next week's episode, we're talking all about people pleasing. Like, it's actually the episode.
Oof. That'll be
Yeah.
a good one. Yeah.
So, Interesting that you brought that up. But yeah, I think that that is important. That is a great life hack. So, okay, cool. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing. Next up, what is an awesome book that you wish someone would have told you about sooner?
Whew. I love Jay Shetty's Think Like a Monk.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like self-help awareness, but in such an easy, digestible way.
Mm-hmm.
He like tells his own stories in there. It's just so relatable. It's like it's light, in my opinion. It's not like a super heavy book about trauma or anything. It's a
Mm-hmm.
really good book. Highly recommend that one.
Okay, cool. I follow him, but I haven't read his book.
Oh, it's
Um,
good.
but okay, cool.
Check it out.
Next question. Thank you. I'll add it to the list. I think we talk about this, like I have so many books. Like I have stacks of books. I'm just like, I have to stop. I have to read the ones I have before I can buy
I
more. Like
know.
I'm
I
setting that
feel you.
boundary with myself
Oh yeah, I feel you on that.
as I added like literally four more to my cart this week. I need to finish reading the one. I didn't even read today, but yeah, so that's a reminder for me. So thank you for that. I need to finish
Of course.
the book that I'm on. So name a feel good go to thing that everyone needs to know.
Feel good go-to thing. Um, Man, my answer is my dog.
Mm,
My dog makes me feel so good.
yeah,
Animals are, they're so empathetic and they love you and they're able to like make you feel better when you don't feel good. I know it
yeah.
sounds nuts, but they do.
No, like animals are great. My little guy's staring at me now, um, like he's mad at me. But someone, yeah, shared recently that like all animals are emotional support animals, and so like you can use them to co-regulate, like just cuddle them and just breathe. And I'm
So
like,
true.
oh,
It's
that is
so
true.
true.
My cat dog, though, whenever I try to cuddle him, he doesn't usually enjoy it.
No.
He will allow it, and then he will like scurry away. Um,
Oh.
yeah, he's an extrovert, or excuse me, an introvert. Yeah, doesn't
I've
like
had
to
dogs
play.
that are, so my first dog was not a cuddler, but Pepper now she's such a cuddler. Like she
Yeah.
will, I could like drag her over to me and she'll just stay there.
Oh no, like I tried to snuggle with Mr. T the other night. Yeah, I'm talking about you. I tried to snuggle with him the other night or evening. It was like sometime like later in the day, and he literally like got up and like moved.
He's like, no, you're on your own.
Yeah. And then he like plops down where he can see me but where I can't touch him without having to like get up and like go after him. He
Right.
plops down and then he's like and like
Like
literally
size.
yes, and like literally
Like
sighs at
I'm,
me.
you
Like
stress me out. Like now I'm good.
right, it seems like I give him anxiety. Like he needs emotional support animal, but yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, now he's staring
That's
at me. He
too
knows
funny.
and like he knows I'm talking. Anyway. Okay. So next question. What do you wish all clients knew before working with you?
For working with me. That we can literally take the fuckboys that are causing you stress and get rid of them.
I like that. That's good.
Yep. We can. It's possible. And also I'm like your like bestie and I'll help you like draft texts and tell you what to say.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
So you don't
always
have to do
fun.
it alone.
No, you don't have to do it alone.
Love.
And I could be objective. I'm not like your best friend who's like, tell him to go fuck himself. Like I could
Right.
tell you like an actual thing that will like
Right.
that's effective and be objective about it.
Which is helpful because our friends, I think, very much advocate for us, even when sometimes it's like, no, like I need to have this conversation and I need to do this. And
Whew.
they're very much like, just don't talk to them. And I'm like, but
That's not helpful because that's not how I feel. Right? Yeah,
yeah,
I've experienced that. Like just get rid of him. Like just
yeah,
stop talking to him. And I'm like, yeah, I would have done
yeah,
that already if I could have. So
yeah. One of my friends, and like I love them and I appreciate it, but I was trying to share a story about what had happened, and before I could even really finish, she was like, "Fuck them, just fuck them," and I'm like, "Yeah, but like," and then they're like, "Fuck them," and I'm like, "Thank you."
okay, this was helpful.
Yeah, I'm like, I appreciate your enthusiasm and your
Right.
support, and also, um, but you weren't there, so yeah, love that you can provide that and that you do that for clients, and So they don't have to do this alone because it's scary and it's uncomfortable and it sucks and it's like fumbling around in
Yeah.
the dark.
Yeah. And I'm there to support them as they're learning to build this self trust and ultimately be able to do all of these things on their own. Because that's
Yeah.
always my goal. I don't want to, I don't want you to rely on me for, months and months to come. I want to give you the tools to be able to do it on your own.
Right. Teach them how to fish.
Yep.
Love.
Exactly.
Okay. So this next one is, what is something in your life today that you get really excited about that younger Rachel would look at you being excited and be like, shaking my damn head?
Ooh,
So do you need an example?
yeah, sure. You can give me one. I think I have an
So
answer, but go ahead.
like nonstick cookware gets me going.
Mm,
Hmm. But not like the
yeah.
toxic kind. Also need to
Right.
specify that, like the, yeah.
Um, I would say, honestly, always having like a big thing. I have this like big water bottle over there,
Mm-hmm.
but like having a big water bottle and just like sipping it throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
I know it sounds silly, but like now I'm like so conscious of how much water I drink
Mm-hmm.
as an
Well, it's hot,
adult,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
and not something I would have ever have done when I was younger.
Well, yeah, a lot of people like those big water bottles, and yeah,
I love them. They're so good.
with the climate now, Jesus Christ.
Oh, I
Okay,
know.
cool. So, last question. If you could tell everyone just one thing that is some shit that you wish someone told you about anything, what would it be?
Whew. Um, if I could tell anyone something, I think it would be that honestly, we're meant to enjoy life. It's not that serious. I know everything feels so big in the moment, but in the grand scheme of things, we are here to learn, we're here to grow. We're also here to just enjoy life. We don't always have to be like in our heads overthinking, and I know that's easier said than done. But we also have to learn how to like I'm saying this now as somebody who's done the healing work, but like years ago I wouldn't have been able to speak to this, but like we really just have to learn how to drop into our bodies and just like be present and enjoy life. And over the years, I've built up, like I do journaling every day, not every day, but I do journaling a lot now, and I've practiced gratitude. And what that does is it really just like helps you ground and be in the moment and really just like be grateful for everything around you because life goes like this. And I've been through so many shitty situations myself, such as losing my mom, a divorce, and all these horrible things that really just made me realize like, this is it. Like every day is what you have, and then you go to the next day. Um, and you can either let that pass you by, or you can really just like be present and be grateful and enjoy life.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, that so good. I have nothing to say or like follow up with that, but just yes. Like,
I want to know what yours is. What is your answer to
um,
that?
no one's ever asked, so thank you.
Yeah.
If I could tell everyone just one thing, that's something that I wish someone told me, what would it be? I would say, here it is. The better you know yourself, the better you will know everyone and everything else. And that's essentially what I teach people. That's, kind of how I coach is like knowing yourself because like you said, like you shared, and what came up for me is I had a conversation earlier where and recently actually there's been a couple conversations where I'm like, I mean, stuff is just stuff. Like we're so fixated on like, well, we need the latest this, that, and gizmo and gadget and the relationships and these things like define like who we are and really they do if we let them. And the shit that I wish someone would have told me is the more I know about myself, the more and the more you know about yourself, anyone watching and listening, you, Rachel, like I feel and I believe that it will really impact your quality of life because then you're going to be able to discern between the bullshit and the stuff and what really matters. And in the same vein of what you shared about like all we have is today, it really empowers you with the knowledge and awareness to do with what you have what you can, and to take what you have, and if it's not what you currently want, then to start to leverage what you have accessible to you in order to get you where you want to be. Use what you have where you can to get you where you want to be. And I think that that only comes in taking that time, like we talked about, like looking outward for things. And so this comes back to that as well. That only comes from getting to know like who you are. And that's a little wooey, like on the inside, but I mean, it's true, because my mother passed away in December, and it's something where,
Sorry.
thank you. Yeah, I was sorry to hear about yours as well. I was like, oh, like, um, so it's something where, that as painful as it was, I'm now at a place where I was able to recognize, the way that I handled it now is not how I would have handled it then. Like back then, being like back in the day. Not like then, like when it actually happened. The way that I handled the situation as it happened is not how me 10 years ago would have handled it, is what I mean to say.
Right. Yeah.
And 10 years ago, I would have like numbed out. 10 years ago, I don't know what the fuck I would have. I don't know if I would still be here if that had happened 10 years ago. And so I'm only able to have navigated it like I did because I know myself, because I was able to have such like a strong network of support.
Sure.
And even that, like the ones that I thought were going to be there, like some really big figureheads in that regard, just weren't. Like straight up just stopped talking to me. And I'm not saying that to make me a victim, but I'm saying that just to see, like just to again validate the point that
it happens.
yeah, that like life happens, and it's a matter of knowing yourself enough to know that you are going to be able to navigate whatever it might come, because we don't know. We don't know what's going to come tomorrow, in the next 5 minutes, the next 5 years. And so
Sure.
some shit that I wish that so one thing I would just tell everyone is the more that you know yourself, the better prepared that you're going to be able to be. And the better quality your life will be, because you're going to have the discernment to know what's important and what's not, and to act accordingly.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it was kind of a long answer, but
No, I love that answer. Yeah.
thank you. Thank you. But yeah, and Sonia's in the house. Hello, ma'am. But yeah, so that's what I would say. Again, thank you for asking. And thank
Yeah.
you for being here. Thank you for having this conversation with me. For
Thank
anyone
you.
who, of course, and for anyone who didn't listen yet, do so. You can head to the link in my bio. You can head to YouTube. You can head to wherever you like to listen to podcasts. It is there. Let us know what you think when you do listen, and make sure to share it with someone so that they can learn more about healthy relationships, and the habits and how we got here, and like what we can do to get where we want to be. And also, spoiler alert, we are going to be doing more conversations about how to create healthy relationships. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this live, we really spent time laying the foundation and framework here. And so it's something where moving forward over the next couple of months, you're going to be seeing episodes about how to create a healthy relationship with yourself, how to create a healthy relationship with, your family, and different kinds of things like in that regard. So if you have requests, if you have comments, if you have questions, let us know. Oh, Sonia, sorry, so late to the party, but we'll certainly watch the recap. Yes, please do. It was good. We got to learn more about Rachael and share some knowledge. So that's what's coming up for you. Where can they find you? What do you have going on?
You can find me on Instagram at this account. You can find me on TikTok. I do a lot of videos on there. Actually, I'm a little more active on there than I am on Instagram, but I'm trying to work on that. You could go to the link in my bio, sign up for my email list. You get tips, advice, special offers that I don't share on Instagram. And you could also book your free consultations on there if you want to work with me one-on-one.
Cool. And I'll make sure to link your Instagram in the description so that you can just tap on over and get in contact there and give her a follow. And then tap to, if you're on a TikTok, for whoever are TikTokers out there, that link is also in her bio, right?
It's actually not, but my name is Rachael Ship, like relationship. Yeah, RACHAL SHIP.
I'll type that out in the description. But yeah, you'll have to type that in on TikTok because you can't just tappity tap on that one. But
Right.
thank you for being here and thank you for having this conversation with me. I'm excited for our
Sure.
next one,
Me
which we will
too.
be doing next month. And so I'm looking forward to
Yes.
that. Next week, like I mentioned, we're going to be talking about people pleasing. So Abigail Wilbur is going to be joining me, and that episode is going to be coming out on Monday at 8 a.m. Eastern, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen. So make sure to listen to that. Um, and otherwise, if you have any questions, comments, like we said, about healthy relationships, please do let us know. We are here. That is what we do as coaches. Like we alluded to and shared parts of our experiences in this live today, we aren't just doing this because we're like, that looks like fun. We're doing this because we know how much it fucking sucks. Like, we know how hard life can be. We know how much, relationships can be difficult. And
Yeah.
we know that this isn't an easy process. And because of that, because of our experiences, that is why we became coaches. And so if you are someone who is trying to like make it all make sense, we can help you do that a little bit more gracefully than if you would try to figure this out yourself. Because I'm going to tell you, like, it's not trying to do it yourself. First of all, it's impossible. Um, and
Yeah.
it takes so much longer. Like there was so long that I just like floundered around. So you don't have to do that
Sure.
because we did that. And so yeah, let us know how we can help. Have an awesome weekend, and we'll see you on the screens.
Bye, guys. Thank you,
Bye.
Johnna.
Thank you.
Bye.